There is a verse in the second chapter of the book of Jubilees that has no parallel in Genesis, not because someone added it, because someone removed it. Genesis 1:1 says God created the heavens and the earth in the beginning. It tells you what he made on each day: light, sky, land, sea, sun, moon, living creatures. What it does not tell you is that before any of those things existed, God populated the invisible infrastructure of creation with 7 classes of beings, each assigned to govern a specific domain of the physical world. The Book of Jubilees tells you exactly what those classes are. It names them in order. It specifies what each one governs, and it places that creation explicitly on day 1, before light, before the firmament, before anything the human eye has ever seen. Fragment 4, Q216, at the shrine of the book in Jerusalem, the oldest surviving manuscript of Jubilees, dated by James Vanderkam at Notre Dame between 125 and 100 BCE, preserves this passage. It was there before Christianity existed. The Council of Laodicea removed the book from the Western canon in 364 of the Common Era, and with it, this account of what was built into creation before creation became visible. In the next several minutes, you'll see what the text actually says, who the 7 classes are, what each one governs, and why the creation account in Genesis reads the way it does once you understand what it left out. If this kind of forbidden biblical history interests you, subscribe. Every week, we uncover what was removed from Scripture. Before we go to the text itself, you need to understand the manuscript situation, because this is not speculation built on a single document. Jubilees 2:2 opens the dictation sequence. The angel of the presence, one of the 7 classes you'll meet in a moment, speaks directly to Moses on Mount Sinai and dictates a creation account that is more detailed than anything in Genesis. The Ethiopic text, preserved in the Ge'ez codices at Axum and the island monasteries of Lake Tana, matches the Hebrew of 4 Q216 with a fidelity that, according to Vanderkam's 1989 critical translation from Notre Dame, is extraordinary across 1,500 years of independent transmission. Robert Henry Charles produced the first major English edition of Jubilees in 1902. He was a serious scholar. He was also working from a smaller, less complete manuscript pool. Where the Ge'ez was specific about the nature of each angelic class, Charles sometimes generalized. Where the text used categorical language, each class assigned to a specific domain with no overlap, Charles occasionally collapsed multiple classes into broader groupings. Vanderkam's translation, drawn from a wider manuscript base including the Qumran Hebrew, restored that specificity. What you're about to read is drawn from Vanderkam's critical text, cross-referenced with the Ge'ez tradition. The 7 classes are not a medieval embellishment. They are in the oldest surviving copy of the book, Jubilees 2:2. The angel of the presence speaks. The translation is direct. On the first day, he created the heavens above, the earth, the waters, all the spirits who serve before him, the angels of the presence, the angels of sanctification, the angels of fire, the angels of the winds, the angels of the clouds and darkness and snow and hail and frost, the angels of thunder and lightning, and the angels of the spirits of cold and heat. 7 classes, 1 day before light, before the firmament, before the land was separated from the sea. Here is what the text records about each one. Class 1, the angels of the presence. These are the highest designation in the Jubilean hierarchy. The text uses the same title, Malachi Panim in the Hebrew, angels of the face in literal translation, to describe the being dictating to Moses. They stand before God, directly. They are not intermediaries in the administrative sense, they are the inner council. The angel of the presence who speaks in Jubilees identifies himself as one of them. Their function is proximity. They operate within the direct governance layer of creation, not managing domains, but present at the source. Class 2. The Angels of Sanctification. The Ge'ez codices preserved at Axum use a term that Van der Kam renders as sanctification, a word that in the Semitic tradition carries the meaning of separation, of setting apart. These are the beings the text assigns to the boundary between the sacred and the profane in the structure of creation itself. The Sabbath, which Jubilees treats not as a human institution, but as a cosmic category, is described in Jubilees 2:18 as something observed in heaven by these two classes, the angels of the presence and the angels of sanctification, before it was ever commanded to humans. The Sabbath was not given down to man. It was given outward from a structure that already existed. Class 3. The Angels of Fire. The text is not using fire metaphorically here. Subsequent passages in Jubilees describe these beings in functional terms. They are assigned to fire as a domain. Fire in the Second Temple cosmological framework includes not only combustion, but the illuminating and purifying properties of heat in the physical world. The parallel in 1 Enoch 71, preserved in 11 manuscripts at Qumran, describes angelic beings who are composed of fire. Their substance is not separate from their function. They do not govern fire from the outside. They are the governance structure of fire operating from within. Class 4. The Angels of the Winds. The Hebrew term here, Ruach, carries the double meaning that has caused translators difficulty for centuries. It means wind. It also means spirit. The Jubilean text does not resolve that ambiguity. It preserves it. The angels of the winds govern both the atmospheric domain, what moves through the air, and the animating principle that the same word describes when applied to living creatures. They are not weather administrators in the narrow sense. They govern movement itself, from breath to gale to the ruach that hovered over the waters in Genesis 1:2. Class 5. The Angels of Clouds, Darkness, Snow, Hail, and Frost. This is the most surprising grouping in the list because it clusters darkness with meteorological phenomena. The text does not distinguish them. Darkness is not the absence of something. In the Jubilean cosmological framework, darkness is a governed domain, a substance with its own angelic administration. Snow, hail, and frost are not random atmospheric events. They are the specific territories of a class of beings created on day one to manage them. The precision here is notable. The text does not say weather. It specifies each category. This is the register of a legal document, not a poem. Class 6. The Angels of Thunder and Lightning. The Ge'ez tradition and the Hebrew of 4216 both preserve a distinction here between thunder and lightning that some earlier translations collapsed into a single atmospheric phenomenon. They are separate. Thunder, the sound, and lightning, the discharge, are assigned to the same class, but named individually. Florentino Garcia Martinez at the University of Groningen, working on the related Aramaic material from Qumran, has noted that this specificity is consistent with the broader pattern in the Second Temple literature of treating each component of physical reality as a discrete administered domain rather than a general category. Class 7. The Angels of Cold and Heat, Winter and Summer. The final class governs the temporal cycles of temperature, not just the phenomenon, but the transition between them. Winter and summer in the Jubilean calendar system are not simply seasons. The text operates on a 364-day solar calendar divided into 4 seasons of 91 days each, and the angels of cold and heat are the governing infrastructure of those transitions. The text does not describe them as passive observers. They are assigned to that domain. They manage it. The seasons do not shift because of axial tilt in the Jubilean cosmological framework. They shift because a class of beings created on day 1 is performing the function they were assigned before light existed. Here is the question the text forces. Genesis 1 describes God creating the heavens and the earth, light and darkness, the firmament, the dry land. It does not mention a single created being until the 5th day, fish and birds, then land animals on the 6th, humans at the end of the 6th. Jubilees 2 describes creation beginning not with the physical substrate, but with the administrative infrastructure of the physical substrate. The beings who will govern fire, wind, darkness, snow, thunder, heat, they exist before any of those things exist. They are built into the system before the system is switched on. The implication is not minor. If the Jubilean account is accurate, what Genesis presents as a creation of raw materials is actually a creation of an already administered cosmos. The physical world that emerges over 6 days is not unmanaged nature. It is a managed system whose managers were created in the first moment. The Western Church, following Augustine's reading of Genesis in the City of God and the Council of Laodicea's removal of Jubilees from the canon in 364 of the Common Era, inherited a creation account stripped of this layer. Not because the manuscripts didn't preserve it, because the institutional decision was made not to include the text that contained it. The Ethiopic Orthodox Tewahedo Church did not make that decision. The Ge'ez codices were copied generation after generation at Axum and at the island monasteries of Lake Tana, behind stone walls and chapel doors that tourists do not enter. While the Western tradition read Genesis without its administrative layer, the Ethiopian tradition preserved the version that still had it. This account does not stand on Jubilees alone. First Enoch chapter 60, preserved in 11 manuscripts at Qumran, describes Enoch in the presence of the angel of peace, being shown the chambers where the same forces are managed: the winds, the frost, the thunder. The language overlaps with Jubilees 2:2, with a precision that, across 3 separate scribal traditions in 2 languages copied on 2 continents, cannot be explained by coincidence of composition. The Qumran songs of the Sabbath sacrifice, 4 Q400 through 4 Q407, describe angelic liturgical activity within a hierarchical structure that maps directly onto the 7 classes. These texts were never part of the Ethiopian tradition. They were sealed in jars at Qumran and opened in 1947. They preserve the same administrative hierarchy the Jubilean text describes, copied in Hebrew by a community that treated Jubilees as scripture. 3 independent witnesses, 2 languages, 1 administrative structure, created on day 1. The Book of Jubilees was removed from the Western biblical canon 1,662 years ago. The stated reason was that it contained excessive material on the angels. The precise reason is visible now from this distance. It contained an account of creation that was more specific than Genesis. It named what was built into creation before the first moment of visible reality. It gave those beings classes, functions, and domains. It made checkable claims about the structure of the cosmos that the institutional framework the Council of Laodicea was protecting did not want preserved as canonical. The Ge'ez codices preserved it, 4 Q216 preserved it. The Qumran community treated it as scripture and preserved it in 15 separate manuscripts. The administrative layer of creation, 7 classes of beings governing fire, wind, darkness, weather, heat, has been in the manuscript record for over 2,100 years. Genesis tells you what was made. Jubilees tells you who was put in charge of it before it was made. And in every surviving manuscript tradition in the Hebrew of 4, Q216, in the Ge'ez of Aksum, in the Aramaic parallels sealed at Qumran until 1947, the administrative structure is still there. Exactly the way the angel of the presence dictated it to Moses on the mountain, 7 classes, day 1, still in the record.